Welcome to the Hyperpolyglot Activist. Learn languages, make a difference. My name is Dr. Carlos Sierra Lopez, and today I have the pleasure of introducing Alex from Polyglot Business. Alex has been working as a language coach and language mentor for over 20 years. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you very much, Carlos. It's very nice to be here. I'm glad to contribute to your content. I hope that your viewers can take the best advantage of it.
Thank you very much. I think, Alex, many people who are listening to us are confused about the difference and similarities between language learning, mentoring, and coaching. How are these different?
All right. Yeah, it's quite confusing. I don't know in Europe how they distinguish that, but language learning is a standard program which is taken by the ones who are used to the school system, not the polyglot system. How the content is taught in many years, it's possible to learn like this. However, no matter how they study more or less than one's classmate, the 1 year program is never flexible. Language mentoring is the program in which the mentor shares one's language experience with their clients. Language coaching is the program in which the coach finds out what the best methodology for the coachee is, as long as more sessions take place. We can observe the coach's current state of affairs in order to detect tools to maximize their achievements.
Let me see if I have understood this correctly, because when defining language mentoring, you said that the mentor shares the experience, but when talking about language coaching, you placed more emphasis on the coachee, on the person who receives the coaching. Is there a difference in how much focus is there on he who instructs rather than he who receives the instruction in language mentoring versus coaching? Is mentoring more focused on the mentor and coaching more focused on the coachee, or not necessarily?
Yeah, it's to make people understand, it's basically like this. However, it depends on each case. If the coach's needs are the same as the mentors or the coach has learned, so he can use his own experience, so he can mentor, he can work as a mentor. However, here in Hyper, for instance, I have shared many experience that, for instance, you have learned different from me, but your learning experience can be good for my client.
Right. So it's also about the fit, about the match. Absolutely. And yes, I didn't mention that you and I are also fellows at HYPEA, the International Association of Polyglots. So there we've had the chance of discussing this in detail. Now, the second question that I have is that although there are many language institutes in Brazil, only 5% of Brazilians speak English. How do you account for this décalage?
Yeah, unfortunately, this is a reality. According to British Council, less than 5%, or at most 5%, can speak English, and 1% speaks it fluently. But many language institutes don't notice that the country needs communicators, not teachers. And then what happens? As these learners, they don't see targets to achieve, for instance, communicational and then basic fluency and better fluency, they are going to be not motivated, and they're going to give up in the much before as they reach fluency.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something very important, which is the need to have communicators rather than teachers. Could you elaborate a little bit on this distinction?
Yes, the point is that for instance, today I had a new client at Nespresso, And she started asking me more questions about grammar. And I said, you need to speak better. You need to speak faster. Your needs, your priority is not grammar. You know, you need to learn pronunciation to make the listener understand you first, and then you can uh, focus, or not focus, but can try to elaborate better the sentence to impress more people. That's it.
Yeah, and I think that this preconception that we will improve our level in a certain language by
Yeah.
improving our grammar rather than by focusing on communicating more effectively is also the result of the inheritance of the school system, which has always taught us that that is the way to master languages, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. The point is that people think that they are going to learn language in 6, 7, 8 years, and that's another reason that many people don't want to study English, to study a language here.
Mhm.
And as um, language coaching or the polyglot system is not a reality in Brazil, because we speak just Portuguese as a native language. It's just the only official language. You know, the native language of Brazil, such as Tupi, is spoken just by 60,000 speakers, and they are over 200 million people
Mhm.
in Brazil. And we are surrounded by countries who speak a similar language,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
and this is quite different from the reality. Is quite different from Europe, from
Yeah.
Austria, or
Right.
from
Mhm.
Scandinavia, for instance.
Right. And so we could say that all in all, language mentoring and coaches are more effective ways of acquiring languages. Would that be a
Yes,
correct?
I think language teaching is not enough. You know, it means that language coach and mentoring complement much more, because it's going to teach, is going to show, the best word, to show the clients some shortcuts. I'm going to help, and you are witness, you understand that because you are also a polyglot. I'm going to help them to avoid mistakes that I made when I learned my second and third language, for instance.
Yes. Yes, indeed. We have one video here in the Hyperpolyglot Activist where I emphasize precisely that how people who learn that language as their second, third, etc., not as their first language, can draw up on their own mistakes to help
Mhm.
new students, right? And they can relate to their own journey precisely because once they were there in their place, right? Mhm. And so one of the questions that recur is the following: what is necessary to know before start learning a new language? What would you say is necessary to know before that?
Yeah, the people need to uh, make a self-reflection, an internal reflection, and they need to know why they are learning, not
Mhm.
because the society is
Mhm.
saying, "Oh, well, it's very necessary. It's quite important to study language because my company. This is a there is a requirement in my company,"
Right.
and this is not true. So this is, I mean, this is not going to make them really learn a language. If they
Absolutely.
don't, yeah, if they don't reflect and they don't really think, they are not conscious about the benefits, all the benefits of language learning, apart from getting a better job. You're going to understand the other's culture and to avoid some illnesses, for instance, and they are going, oh, it's going to be good for me, not only for my career.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if they set this by themselves and oh, it's really important for me, so they are going to learn.
Yes, I cannot tell you the amount of times I came across students of mine at the university level who declared that the main reason they were in the classroom was because the language they were learning, their target language, was a language requirement at that school. And that is the wrong reason, as you said, because as the saying goes, he who has a why will find a how. Right? Once you have a strong why, then you will find the means by which to accomplish your goal. But first, you have to ask yourself that question, engage in that self-reflection process, right?
Of course. Mhm.
And we've discussed so far the theoretical aspect, but I wonder how the topics and vocabulary that we just discussed relates to your own practice in polyglot business. Could you tell us a little about your everyday business and how your background in linguistics and language learning influences the way you implement your business?
Very good question. Well, I had many problems to learn English because when I started learning, well, it was over 30 years ago, in 1988, well, a long time ago. And there was no internet. There were few methodologies available at that time. And I didn't learn properly. I was 14 years and, teenagers are not so conscious. Well, at my time, it was not so, we're not so conscious about the importance of language learning, and few methodologies available were not motivating. But when I turned 21, before it's between 20 and 21, I was ashamed just to speak Portuguese. And then I said, no, I need to speak English. I'm an adult and I'm not satisfied with my level. And then I started taking it seriously. And I thought to myself, why only English? Why not another language? And I didn't have an answer for this question, so I started studying Spanish. And then I realized that the language that I studied after that helped me to speak my second, third, and so on. So as you are polyglot, you know that one language strengthens the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's many techniques.
And I got motivated
to use that to your advantage.
And absolutely. In 97, I started working as a language teacher. In 2002, I started working for companies. I started working for Santander and one airplane company called Embraer that is very famous in Brazil. And I found out that I could be flexible in analyzing the client's current state of affairs in order to propose them the better way that achieve their needs. But I didn't find out that I was a coach. One client found out, by the way, and said, no, Alex, you're not my teacher, you are my coach. And then I started once, well, he's right. And then because of that, I started working and searching more about coaching. And I found out coach like Luca Lampariello, for instance, who is a famous coach. Lydia Mantrova, who is a mentor too, and other people. So I found out that they are polyglots and they shared their polyglot experience. And then I thought, oh, I am on the right path. And that's what motivated. I didn't know if I answered your question fully, but you're free to.
Oh, absolutely. Not only did you answer the question fully, you actually connected it back to where we started our conversation. So that brings the full dynamic in circle. So Alex, thank you very much for being here at the Hyper Polyglot Activist. We'll link in the description of the video your polyglot business, and we hope that many people are now interested in delving into the intricacies of language mentoring and coaching, and that you have made those that were not previously aware of that difference vis-a-vis language teaching fully aware of it. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you very much for your kindness, Carlos, and I hope we get even closer because we have many things in common, and I'd like to greet your audience too, and I hope them take advantage of all your contents as this one.
Absolutely. Looking forward to meeting perhaps in Polyglotari in Rio de Janeiro and similar events around the world.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.